operator-centric model. So the only difference now here is that it's no longer the bank at the center, but now the mobile money operator. So in this case, maybe if you think about the bank centric, that could be uh, the bank accounts and all that. But when it is actually the operator centric, the operator replaces the bank. And then we have the collaborative one, where you have both the bank and the operator collaborating to manage, the tasks, and they share the rights, or they share the dividends of the payments once the transactions are completed. And the fourth one was the independent service provider model. This is like a third party that operates as independent. And so they are seen like a neutral person. If you think about Pesalink, for example, if you think about Pesalink, you find that sometimes Pesalink is independent. And so maybe when you're moving you're transferring money from one bank to another bank, I have seen that instead of each bank deciding to build their own ISP, they actually use whatever the gateways that are already there. It might be cheaper than having to build the technology again all over, to start building your own technology, and yet the technology is already there. So you have all these different scenarios, but of course, depending on what is it that you are, your business strategy, then you can apply whichever model that you find appropriate for your organization. The business strategy is important to know and uh, to to understand, because the business strategy is through which your value proposition is going to be created. And when you create your value proposition, it is through which you are able to generate revenue. So, for example, if you are able to use your ISP model instead, or you're able to you have your own ISP as an organization, then you may not necessarily have to use a third party. If, for example, you're a bank and you already have the license and it is operational, and you have the platforms and your customers, then you don't need to expose your customers to the gateway, but you'll find then that you're able to still transfer on ISP provider. Yeah. So it all depends with what is it the organization is looking for, and what is it that the organization is wanting to carry out. So we find then that this paper was actually written by French researchers, and they have this four 2x2 way, where you have if the bank's involvement is very low to very high in the middle, as you can see there in the middle here. Yeah, this middle. If the bank's involvement is very high, then you're moving towards either bank-centric or the collaborative model. If then the bank's involvement is not very high, it is very low, then we are moving then towards operator, towards the operator centric model. And so you find then that you have the combinations of low-high, as you show. Yeah, the operator's involvement is low, but the bank's involvement is high, then you're tending to have a bank-centric. So you're moving from the customer making payments through the bank and the bank making the payments through the vendors. If the bank's involvement is very high, all of this is very high, you're actually moving towards, more of mobile banking, mobile banking, like what we find when you go to the supermarket, you buy stuff and you pay with your cards and all those things. Yeah, you are here. mobile banking. But on the other side, if it is very low and low, you are actually more of the um, customer going to the service provider and then getting to the vendor. And then you have this other operator centric where the involvement of the operators, the mobile money operators is very high. So you have the customer, the operator, and the vendor. So here you might find that a lot of the many pay bills and all those other things may, I think the pay bills and all that may be falling. The operator involvement is high, but I think they fall here. Yeah. So those are the four different types of models. And here we see a schematic diagram where you have the operator centric with the mobile operator being the strategic coordinator, where you find uh, the operator develops the applications and deploys those applications for the service. And this is where you have the mobile operators being able to provide for you that. And so they have the merchant. The merchant is the person you're actually paying. And it means they have created a till number or a pay bill number with the operator and all those other things. So that when you make your payment as a customer through the mobile operator, you transmit it to the operator, it actually ends up to the merchant. And some of the advantages of these advantages over using the bank, one is that the technology is held by the operator. So this you feel the issue of the security because it's the operator is the one who is enabling it. Yeah. And then the other one is that they frequently compete with a few number of partners. So you find that the rules and the regulations of the mobile operators are totally different from what the banks face. Yeah. And so that's why if you've been sometimes reading about the banks and their feelings about the mobile operators, especially when it comes to money services, uh, the push to separate the mobile operators company into two. One company to provide the voice and data services and everything else to do with telecommunication, and another company to provide anything to do with financial transactions so that they can also be regulated. But right now, the way it works, you find that the banks feel that the environment favors the mobile operator, money operators a little bit. They don't have a harsher regulatory framework compared to them. So that's why you find that and again, the number of operators are not many. You see, like if you think about in Kenya, how many operators actually are providing the mobile money services? You could have, I think, I don't know if the others are still there. I still see Airtel, there's Airtel Money, there's Safaricom M-Pesa. I don't know if T-Cash is still there and still works, the Telecom Cash. How many of us use it? I've never used it myself. How many of us have ever used the Telecom something? Hashim, Hashim, are you still there in class?
Yes.
All right, you will do the necessary.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure you understand.
Yes.
Uh, Great. So you find that even the competitors are not as many if you compare with the number of banks vis-a-vis the number of mobile money operators. So that's how the operator-centric looks like. Then you have this, when it is bank-centric, uh, they have a different environment. Of course, their legal framework and all those other things are different. There are very many banks. They may not necessarily have the technology, and that's why sometimes you see the banks are starting to go to or starting to collaborate with the tech with the mobile operators so that they are able to get to collaborate and have the collaborative model there. So this one you can see that when it's time for payment, then the customer will request it's by the bank to create that payment, and the payment goes to the merchant. And then there's that interchange that is happening, and you can see here there's the mobile application, the mobile payment application. Maybe you're asking your bank to pay for that, and you're able to have that happen there. But at the same time, you're actually doing it through the POS. In this case, maybe we could actually look at um, I don't know an example where I've actually used direct my bank to pay for a service using this model. Yeah, I haven't myself used this model. But if there's anyone who has used this, maybe perhaps they can give us an example. But you can see that you're trying to make a purchase from the you and you're not using the credit card. This one does not is not using the credit card, but maybe you're using a mobile payment application, and then your bank actually pushes for you to make the payment, and then that interchange happens here. Yeah. And of course, this is the transaction fee, and the merchant will always get a commission from, will pay a commission for that transaction. So you can see the two different models that are there. I will try and put the figures for the other model. I'll look for the paper again and see if I have if they have the figures for the other model. We will put it. We will put them. We'll put it there. So some of the challenges, and of course we know that there are challenges. Sometimes, as much as we feel secure, it is our handset, we are having it, and all that. We have the issues of security. Yeah, and here maybe we will discuss a little bit about how fraud happens. Yeah, how fraud happens. So we have the issues of security concerns, whether your accounts are safe, even when you lose your phone, do you think your account is secure, or do you go to the bank and ask them to close, not to allow any mobile transactions to happen and things like that. So these are just some of the challenges that are still there. And we have seen sometimes there was a time I think there was so much noise on social media. Was it about equity or whatever, that it was not people are not feeling that there was an issue with their apps. I don't know whether it was a security, but no, sometimes there's always noise sometimes because of competition, and a competitor can actually pay the noisemakers on social media to to make noise about your competitor. Yeah, so those are some of the challenges. Sometimes, depending on the mobile handset that you're using, you could have issues to do with security. Increasingly, most organizations are employing now the two-step authentication, where you can authenticate yourself, but there's still a code that is sent on your handset, and you can be able to type it in, or it will be able to recognize. So even as the challenge, there's always ongoing improvements to curb some of the challenges. Reliability and scalability, sometimes this you may find that is associated to some extent. I think the guys who are telling us about their challenges on mobile development in their projects. Yeah. Depending on the gadget, then sometimes you see it is working on this gadget, it is not working on this gadget. So we always have these challenges. And once in a while, you find that maybe the libraries were working on your gadget, now they are not working. You're trying to upgrade, and even as you upgrade, you're still not finding it working correctly. That means it's a reliability issue. Scalability, of course, it's to do with different gadgets can that platform work in. And sometimes you may find that the publishers of these applications on Google Play will write there as an instruction that this application works with this version of Android going ahead. Yeah, so that means it can't work with the others lower versions. Personalization ability sometimes is very minimum. You really cannot personalize a little bit of some of these things. Application distribution, most of it is on Google Store, Google Play Store. Sometimes you go there, you download, you update from there. But if you don't know, if your phone cannot get to there, then it means you can't get access. Yeah, and of course, being able to upgrade. You don't want to upgrade and then you can't access the service. So sometimes you may find people are having security issues or functionality issues because they have not yet upgraded, upgraded um, the app, yeah, and maybe perhaps even they have not even upgraded their own operating systems. Yeah. So of course, we know that as technologies continue to develop, these things become a little bit easier. Clients are able now to do. You don't have to go to the bank to have your application work in terms of upgrading it and things like that. You may need to go to set up and fill in maybe perhaps issue instructions. If you have very many accounts in a bank, they wouldn't know which account you want to link to your mobile platform. So you may actually need to go and let them know which specific account you want to link to that. Yeah, so it's just important to know these things. Depending again on availability, remember we saw the graph about um, the impacts of mobile technology uh, and the way the mobile technologies growth from 1G to the growth that is currently there for 5G, then the various generations of available data infrastructure that is supporting the networking communications. You have different kind of services, and sometimes you may go to a region and you find then that your mobile app is not able to work as it should. And so you will find then sometimes it's much easier than to use your SMS or the USSD functionality. And so you find a lot of institutions have both platforms. But of course, once you get very used to the mobile applications, they are more user friendly and all those other things, as compared maybe perhaps to the USSD or SMS based, which again you have to be keen not to make mistakes. Yeah. So that's why you will find that even as mobile applications are being adopted and all that, there's always a version, or it is always important to have the USSD or the SMS based version for that. These are there are lists a little bit of a list of some of the barriers. Of course, as um, we look at that list, you start finding that it's important to ask yourself issues to do with security, even as it is growing in terms of how we can mitigate fraud, it is still a concern, it's still a barrier. Yeah, it's still a barrier in the sense that perhaps there are several other people who would not use mobile commerce because they are concerned about the security of the transactions or the security of their financial details. And that's why you start seeing, like maybe the global pay, it's not that maybe somebody doesn't have a card, but they would feel more secure if they actually just generated a virtual card for that period instead of having to expose their usual debit card or their credit card. And you know that we have people or hackers who are always looking for that kind of information, and then your card is actually used for transactions that you did not approve. The issue of performance, we saw, like when we asked those who are doing mobile platforms, the performance of the different gadgets, if comparing maybe perhaps something that you're seeing on the mobile and you compare it maybe with how you see it on your desktop, the performance issues, the capacity of the mobile to do some of those things, so it becomes an issue. And so it also means that even as you're designing your solution, you must ask yourself, how do you want to balance the performance? What stays in the back end? What stays in the front end? Availability of the platforms and the services that you require, they may also be a little bit constrained. The screen size, the cost benefit of doing it on mobile commerce. Do you feel that it is an option that you need to have, or maybe perhaps it's not beneficial to your organization? So you have to think about that. Have a clear strategy so you don't just go and create a mobile, because it's effort. Creating a mobile app is an effort. And so if you don't have a very clear strategy in terms of what's the value you're creating, you're not just creating another avenue. That avenue also needs to have its key performance indicators so that you're able to um, um, make profits using m-commerce. So you don't just say, okay, I'm going to mobile commerce because it is the in thing, or I'm going to social commerce because it's the in thing. You must also ask yourself, what strategy is it? What strategy am I pursuing? Yeah, there are people who have been successful without necessarily having mobile commerce. Yeah, but they still use the older platforms that people can still go and just look at the e-commerce and not necessarily on the mobile. Of course, integration with the other platforms, and the customization that is because of the different types of mobiles, what they have, and all that becomes some of the barriers. Yeah. But always remember that even with all these barriers, this growth that is happening. Yeah. And so one of the keys that as a developer you should be aware of is, how do you make your platform or your mobile commerce feel secure? So the issue of security, that people can have confidence in what you have provided as a service in terms of um, confidentiality of the transactions, authentication of those transactions, and how you authorize, and that when you carry out transactions using the mobile, how they actually integrated in the back end for them to ensure that there's data consistency. Yeah. Why is that important? When you think about mobile commerce and the transactions, you will see that you pass through different networks by the time um, the request is actually approved. And along that, it means then uh, as it passes through the networks and the substations, there has to be security. Security is an important aspect, and you also have to think about the interoperability of the request as it moves, yeah, along the various networks. That needs to be taken care of. Then, of course, the concern of privacy. Yeah, and sometimes you may just find a message that has come to your phone. You didn't solicit it for it. Maybe you went somewhere, somebody has sent you a message, or you feel they are tracking you and things like that. So there's always the feeling sometimes that the mobile platforms, there's an infringement of one's privacy. So that can also become an issue. So if you're going to use any location-based services, or you're tracking something, you do it within the confines of the legal frameworks that is there, so that people don't feel you are invading their privacy. Yeah, so that is very important with the mobile commerce. Yeah, and of course we know about fraud. Yeah, fraud has been a big issue, and so maybe we could take a moment, um, think about fraud in terms of what have we had. I don't know if there's been any reported incidences that you are aware of through the mobile banking. Yeah, we're looking at mobile banking, not insider. When we think about fraud, like in the banking sector, we have students who sometimes study what they call insider. There's the insider fraud and there's the outsider fraud. Insider fraud means it's fraud that is facilitated by employees who work inside the organization. So maybe perhaps let's take about 2 or 3 minutes. We can go online and find out what are the things that are there when what has been written about fraud in Kenya in the mobile banking sector. So let's take about 3 minutes, and then we see what you will have found out. I'm giving you about 3 minutes because I think today we will, I mean, there's still a lot of time. We will finish what I had prepared. There's still about another, how many slides? That is slide number. I will have another about 7 slides to complete. Yeah, so take about 3 minutes. Let's see what you come up with in terms of some of the banking, the fraud challenges in the banking industry. All right, let's see what have you seen, what have you found out. Anyone? Yes, Roman. Go ahead. Yes, we can hear you now. Mm-hmm. Mm. Yeah, yeah. I once had, on the same swim swap, that there was a cartel that had targeted the SMEs in rural. Yeah, and they knew that these people carry out lots of business transactions, and so these people had been given. I think in Equity there's what they call Equitel SIM or something. I don't know how it works, and so these guys would go and pretend they're actually working or they've been sent by Equity, and they'll do that thing you're calling SIM swap. Yeah, and it's very difficult to detect it because you see it is your own SIM. You have given out your own SIM, so by the time they realize, it becomes a problem, because you find then you yourself will not receive the messages, and now they go to the person who has taken your SIM, and they are able to get all the if those OTP messages and things like that. So it becomes a big issue. So it's always important to protect yourself against this SIM swap things that are there. That's good. And I think I read somewhere that they are quite a little bit challenging to discover. Yeah. Anyone else? Anyone else? So you guys don't read a lot about the Mulot people who actually do a lot of these sim things. I don't know how they normally do it, but there's been a lot of research or people carrying out research, and you will see that one of the ways within which the country tried to um, work on this is by ensuring that your SIMs are registered. Yeah, your SIM your the registration of this um, SIM cards or the SIM themselves, it becomes an issue, so that everybody seems to they can actually know who is having specific things, and this mobile swap fraud seems to have been a lot of to have gotten some write up in terms of it becoming a big dilemma. Yeah, where sometimes the app's securities are unable to keep up with, the banks themselves are not able to control the porting of that when that SIM swap happens, and then because when it happens, there's always a PIN request. Yeah, and then you're not able to know if, because you know the customer by the SIM, you're not able to know at that point is the customer the one with their SIM or which is the other. It's the others. Yeah. So of course there are many ways of trying to offer solutions, being able to track the gadgets, IMEI number, being able to see is that the usual number, is that the usual device that the person that is there, that the person uses, and things like that. Yeah. Being able to see if you can actually have an audit trail with an audit trail in terms of the activities that is happening. But it is one of the challenging if you are actually able to monitor real-time detection of fraud in the banking sector. Sometimes you may even receive a call and somebody wants you to tell you to put in some numbers and all that, but at that point maybe they are trying to actually take away your money from your e-wallet and things like that. So it's an interesting area for those who are interested in security matters, um, to see if they can have possible or create innovative solutions there. This chart here just looks at the technical limitations of mobile computing and how then it actually can influence or can impact upon the solutions that we provide. So that one we will not go through. I think we have talked quite a little bit on that. So we come now to social commerce. In terms of social commerce, um, it's the emerging concept, and I want us to take a little bit, like about three 3 to 4 minutes, just to check out what those articles are saying. I know we have experience, like what Jerry was talking about was actually inbuilt social commerce within the platform, the WhatsApp platform. So I've shared those two links. If we can take about 4 minutes, according to my clock here, it's 10:34. So about 4 minutes, that's about 10:38 thereabout. We see what you have picked from those two articles. All right. So, what have we seen in those articles? Anyone who wants to share what they have read in those articles? Anyone? Go ahead, Jerry.
Okay. What I noticed from the McKinsey article, I think, was that all the major social media platforms are now like allowing the users to view products. Yeah, and they're kind of using the model where they get an influencer, the influencer shows themselves using the product, and it kind of makes it more realistic for the buyers or for the people who are watching.
Mhm.
There's a way they're integrating the social part where you're watching your favorite influencer or
Mhm.
you're watching your favorite show on YouTube, and then in the middle of YouTube they just say they're advertising some maybe some skincare products or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
That's one way, and I think if you read the other second article, you'll see how a lot of it is being embedded in this social media, and it is an emerging space, and so you can uh, read a little bit more about this social commerce, and it is seen like it is the next frontier in terms of marketing and advertisements. Remember, lots of companies, marketing is a key thing because marketing is how people get to know what it is that you're selling. And as you market, then you start seeing, the trends of making payments in the app, what they call in-app mini apps in an app. So we will see these trends emerging, and so those are things that you need to keep in mind because it is technology that is keeping on being adapted for things that are emerging from the society. And like what Jerry indicated, the use of these influencers tells you then that one of the things is that they must be able to have mapped out um, um, the opinion shapers. You remember the social network analysis, and that person who seems to be the bridge between two, three, four different networks seems like that person is the one who has a lot of influence, and that person then is paid actually to be the advertiser of the products that are being sold. Yeah. So social commerce is really emerging, and we are seeing it in very many different sectors. Um, a lot of the marketing itself, especially using social media, so that people are able to build brands. Sometimes, even when your image has been destroyed in terms of services and all that, we see the same social media being used to come and repair, the reputation that has the damage that has been caused. And so social media is becoming a big thing. And we have in even these big organizations, you find then within the marketing department, there are people who are actually employed, and all they do is to manage the social media handles and manage the brand's image using the social media, being able to facilitate and even the customer relationship, sometimes extending to the use of these platforms where how fast is the organization able to respond to queries from their customers using the social media handles. Yeah. And so, like the examples that is being given there of the influencers or the brand managers that are able to demonstrate some of those things that are of interest to the people who follow them. Yeah, so it has a potential, and it is seen that China was really the pioneer of this social commerce, and that is where a lot of interest has picked up, and you find it embedded in the social media platforms. And you can see this especially with TikTok, because TikTok also came from China. Yeah. And they say that with TikTok, you are able to see lives. I don't know what, I don't have a TikTok account. Maybe I should open a TikTok account and see these things that I read sometimes. Yeah. So these platforms are able to link in or use the social media platforms for purposes of businesses. And so other than just marketing and all those other things, like for example, in LinkedIn, I've seen vacancies being announced, organizations trying to find potential employees from the professional platforms that are there, like LinkedIn. Yeah. Um, Twitter-based systems, I think there are those where you're able to interact with customers, things like that. Somebody can actually engage the customers using the available technologies. Yeah. This one, I think we will leave it there for you to look at in terms of the differences between e-commerce and social commerce. Yeah, so that you are able to see what really is the major objective of a social commerce platform vis-a-vis the main objective, what is the major activity, how is the content generated, and things like that. Yeah, so these properties are very and how they actually relate to social commerce compared to e-commerce. Yeah. So some of the benefits or why social commerce seems to be getting traction. It's easy, you can get recommendations from your friends. Remember, you're on a social network, and that means the social network, you have your friends there. So you are able to talk to one another through the platforms, and you are able to share the things that you find that are interesting. For you, and you can recommend them. Yeah, and once you recommend them, if a friend recommends something, you already feel like that your friend is recommending, either they have already used that service, they have confidence and they trust it, and therefore the likelihood of you also trusting increases. So you are being influenced by your friends about that particular um, um, platform. So that's the influential, the social influence power of this social media. And then as you look at the things that are there on your social media platform, you make decisions about the purchases based on your own needs, your own wants. You may actually view the video on TikTok and then maybe decide, maybe this is not what I want. Yeah. And so when you buy what you really want, fitting your needs, fitting your wishes, it means then it increases the satisfaction. Yeah. It increases your own satisfaction. And that means you have taken a little bit lesser time to make a decision on what you wanted to buy. Yeah. Of course, it is easy for customers to use these platforms. It fits with the lifestyle of a mobile device lifestyle, as we have seen. We are always with our mobiles everywhere. Yeah, it fits with that. Um, there's trust that is developed. You are able to meet perhaps new friends online. As maybe they comment on a product, you could actually I think we used to call it inbox in different platforms. It's the different terms are used, like direct messagings. I don't know what it is. It is in WhatsApp or now in all these other platforms that are there. So you are able to get more an opportunity to make more friends based on even a commodity. I think the other thing is the social support that you get. Yeah, the social support there means that you may not even know somebody, but they may actually respond maybe to a query, and they'll be able to say, "Oh, I actually used this. I found this more useful, or this and this." So all that then means there's that social support that is not there when you actually look at an e-commerce platform where it is not a social commerce platform comparing that the two. So the customers are there; they actually provide the social support. Yeah. Um, and this also provides you with an opportunity to connect to others. Remember, the social platforms are really for creating social relationships, and it gives you an opportunity uh, that you are interacting with new people that you would not otherwise not be able to if you are not on that particular platform. Yeah. So of course we have things that drive um, the growth of social commerce, and some of them, of course, are the numbers of people that are on social network platforms. And so, because of this number of people, for companies and for advertisers, those are potential customers. And so, the question is, how do they use that opportunity? The recommendations and the suggestions made by friends, the ease with which that this social commerce can provide companies with an opportunity to differentiate themselves. Yeah, there's normally in trading, there's the differentiation strategy. How do I differentiate my products? How do I differentiate my service from my competitor? And then, of course, the customers that we are dealing with, because they are always with their mobile phones, they are using the platforms. They are able to gain knowledge by finding reviews, by comparing prices, and all these other things. That becomes it's a driver, because your customers are already having the literacy skills on how to use platforms, on how to search and things like that. Of course, they need to collaborate. We know that collaboration is important. There's also new business models that emerge. You know, when you have this flash sales, yeah, it will kind of like create even a hype on the social media, and you find then it becoming like the Black Fridays and things like that, which are really talked about on the social media. It becomes a new model where you target on a certain Friday towards the end of the month. Yeah, you can do that. Then, of course, because of the social platform and the numbers, and people can actually be in a group, you could actually join hands and do group buying. Because when you do group buying, there's likelihood that you'll have better discounts when you do group buying, because you're maybe buying in bulk. You've been using the social media platforms, so it is not, the ease with which you can shop. Yeah. So you know that when you want to shop and all that, when you really need the item, you just click the buy button. Yeah. And you can communicate with friends, even as they are advertising and all that in real time, you're able to ask questions and make the decision to buy whatever it is that you want to buy. Yeah. So of course there are challenges. The challenges with um, all this e-commerce, mobile commerce, and social commerce. One of them is trust. Yeah. Do you trust the source of the information? Do you trust that the service that you get, you will pay for it and get? We've seen security even with the mobile banking, and of course the legal challenges. And so these are challenges that are there within these business models, and they are not about to disappear. They'll be with us, and so different organizations have to think about how do you enhance trust? How do you enhance security? How do we operate such that we are a legal entity? And that's why you find sometimes that even these people who are make advertisements on Gigi, like on Gigi Pay or on those platforms where you can go and look for an item, they always have a caution at the end that you should be cautious. Yeah, because sometimes they may not want to be involved in the legal issues in case you spend your money and then it was a fraud. So you'll find that sometimes they will actually say, we are only advertising, and it is upon you to ensure before you spend your money, before you do what, that you have followed and confirmed that that service is actually there. So I see sometimes the precautionary messages due to the challenge of the legal aspects. And so you may not be able to take them to court because they already have that precaution there that you should not spend your money unless you're very sure that that is what is there. But for them, they're just providing the advertising or the marketing service. Yeah. So a lot of the content for this lecture was also gotten from this book that is titled Introduction to Electronic Commerce, in case you want to look it up and read more. Yeah. To wind up the topic on this section, then we have what I have provided there, like self-study questions or self-study directions that are important. You may look at Alibaba.com. I think there's been a lot of research that has been done there about the way it has developed. I haven't read about it more recently, but you can look at Alibaba. You can also look at Amazon and be able to see how it is actually now moving towards what we will be looking at in another 2 weeks, maybe the e-commerce ecosystems. Yeah, moving from independent um, e-commerce platform to an ecosystem where you have a lot of interactions with other collaborators. There's the rising of mini program development, applications that run inside the mobile app. I think like what Jerry was describing, you don't have to leave the WhatsApp platform if you want to purchase something. Yeah. So it's important to look at some of these things during your own self-study so that you understand them and see where future technological skills will be required and things like that. Yeah. So that brings us to the end of our topic on e-commerce. And we will then move to the design challenges of e-commerce. Close today at this topic. Any question? Great, thank you very much. We will see you tomorrow. I think tomorrow we can have the physical class.